Hello! If you're new here to the channel, I'll just quickly recap what this is all about. Well, when I retired, I decided to buy a boat and sail to Greece. Woohoo! And that's what I did, apart from the Greece part. I bought a boat on eBay, 26-foot Kelt Marine, 1978, recent survey, engine replacement in 2005. It was in pretty good shape, and the first week I spent on board, just a few little things to do, gas to sort out, things like that, and off I went towards the Thames estuary. And I got down to the Isle of Sheppey and thought, this is not as easy as I was expecting it to be. So I turned around and went back up to the mooring, and that was it for a little while. And then I put an advert in Telegraph dating website, help needed, learning to sail. And that's when I met the lovely KT. And off we went for the next 3 years, learning how to sail the boat and having adventures, sailing down the east coast of the UK. And the boat was in pretty good shape after 3 years. But then I got hankering to buy another one, a bigger one, that we could spend more time on board if we wanted to. So I saw this one that I'm currently on, a Sweden 340, 1992. It was advertised as being out of the water in Vila Real de Santo Antonio in Portugal. It's been out of the water for some time, advertised as new sails, recent engine survey, pretty good shape. So I was on a plane within 48 hours to go and look at it. And yeah, you know, having looked at quite a lot of boats, having my head rule my heart, this one, my heart ruled my head, and so I got it surveyed, put an offer in, and the deal was done. I then came out during the summer. In December we were kind of ready to launch. The boat came with its own mooring up the Guadiana River in Alcatim, and we took the dinghy up there to go and check out the mooring, but when we got there, no mooring buoy. Looks like the person who'd been using the mooring had just dropped the mooring buoy, which wasn't in good condition. The lines had sunk to the riverbed, and that was that. It was gone. We went up to trawl for the lines, but by the time we got there, a Swede, well, he says that he put a new 300-gram concrete block and new lines in the river, but it looks to be in exactly the same position. When he saw us looking around his boat that was currently on the mooring position, that was ours, he came out in his big fiberglass boat and started asking us what it was doing, which I explained to him that it was our mooring, at which point he started to get a bit angry about things, and told us that he'd call the police if we touched anything. I then told him to go, well, F himself basically, I won't swear. At which point he lost the plot and he revved up his engine and drove it straight into the side of our little blow-up dinghy. That was really dangerous, and it was serious intent to cause harm. When I got a hold of his boat to stop him doing it again, he took a swing at me with his fist and missed, and then he took a swing at me with his feet and missed. At that point I shoved his dinghy away and off he went up to San Lucar, which is a village on the Spanish side of the river. I decided that it really wasn't worth getting the police involved, and you've got to know when to walk away, I think. Yeah, so that's what we did. We rented a mooring, a managed mooring here in Laranjeiras on the Guadiana River. So that's where we are at the moment. The very beginning of February this year, we got a WhatsApp from the mooring manager, and he was asking all boat owners to come back to their boats. There was something going on. There had been heavy rains in Spain and Portugal, and a lot of the tributaries feed into the Guadiana River, which then becomes part of a hydro electric dam called Alquiva, and they'd opened the sluice gates earlier the week before, and the water level had gone up a considerable height. Then they'd shut the gates again, and that's when the mooring manager put the WhatsApp out. There was a cheap flight the following day after we got that on a Saturday night, and we just booked the seats and got out here and got up as quickly as we could. So we got a lift across to the boat and everything looked kind of okay. Yeah, the river was flowing too fast to launch our inflatable dinghy safely, but it was okay. The river was up a bit, it was flowing very fast, and there were quite a few sort of logs and these big sort of rafts of rushes and cane coming down the river. But for a couple of days it was okay. I just got on with a couple of bits of maintenance, did the water tank float, which was seized, and a few other jobs. The toilet seat hinge had broke and replaced that. And then it got to the night of February the 5th, and at this point I'm going to pick this story up later in the video, so stay to the end. I don't want to over dramatize this because a lot of people lost their boats. Some people had them damaged, some people ran aground, and when the tide went out they were grounded and had their boats looted. Sadly, one person lost their life. So I'll come back to this later in the video and show you some pictures then. In the meantime, let's just get on and see what we've been doing recently, because this boat was not ready to take to sea, and I'll explain why. We had the boat downriver a few weeks ago, and we unfurled the Genoa just to give things a bit of a try. And as soon as we unfurled it, what we found was the sacrificial strip, the stitching and the actual cloth material had rotted in the Algarve sunshine. Not a good situation. The sail looked in pretty good condition, but I decided this morning to take the sail off and get it to a sail loft and get a new sacrificial strip put on. It's done its job, and it's rotted away rather than damaging the actual sailcloth material. But it needs a new one, and when I bought the boat it was described as new sails. Well, yeah, they were new in 2013, and this is what 10 years of ultraviolet radiation does to sails. But the sacrificial strip has done its job. Cleaning the furling lines while the sail's off. It's soaking overnight. They're in the right state. There's a lot of bird life around the boat, and they managed to build their nests in the most extraordinary of places. Sadly, not all of the little chicks make it. This one was under the boom cover. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, get in the water. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. You pass before your time without so much as a chirp. In the afterlife, when you meet your mother, tell her not to build nests on my boat because it's causing me a lot of bother. I now commit you to the deep. And the more I investigated, the more birds' nests I found, and this one was on the right side at the mast. Some chicks do make it and they fledge to full growth, as these did here. And then I found another one at the end of the boom. It's a good idea to never throw a bird's nest into the wind. That's enough of the bird watching. It's Sunday and it's time to find somewhere for lunch. And this is the landing dock that was completely destroyed in the floods back in February. Now there's nowhere really to get ashore other than the slipway, which is always full of detritus, cane and logs and things like that. Here we are, Bar Rio, and just finished off a plate of chicken, chips and tomato salad with a couple of beers. And this is how it looked back on February the 6th after a flood had hit, and it's only been open for about 2 weeks now. I'm just getting into snooze mode. I think I'll just get in the dinghy, turn the engine off and let the current take me back upriver and have a snooze on the way.
Ye scurvy dogs, raise that mainsail, fire those cannon. We sail the seven seas, we do unspeakable things to the crew we capture, and even more unspeakable things to the women.
Well, that was a nice little siesta, and the dinghy's even found its way back to the boat and tied itself on. And then there are times like this. Just hanging around on the back of the boat, watching this beautiful big orange moon coming up over the hills. When the wind dies, the water goes calm, the sun goes down, and it's just idyllic, peaceful, emotional. Hard to describe, really. Now the genoa's off the boat, in the cart, ready to go to the sail loft tomorrow. This is the original genoa, which was taken off in 2013. Looks to be in reasonably good condition. So we're going to put this on. There's a little bit of a breeze which is going to make it a bit difficult, but it's pretty much head on to the nose of the boat, so shouldn't be too many problems. Well, it's on. Not the best furl, a little bit of the sail showing through. That's the sacrificial strip. But the wind's just starting to pick up now. It's very early morning still, but I'm going to leave it for now, and I'll refurl it the next time I get a very, very, very calm morning. Okay. Quick pit stop for lots of coffee and bacon, eggs and cheese on toast. Still too early, the sail loft is not open yet. We've driven 45 kilometres into Spain to a place called El Rompido, which is just across the estuary from Huelva. And we are coming to VOP Sails, who are going to put us a new sacrificial strip on the Genoa. It's a really nice place, this. Quite a few families taking a holiday around here. Nice beaches. Yeah. It was still early and the dinghy was still grounded in the mud while I waited for the tide. So I thought I'd take a visit to Isla Cristina. Beautiful, beautiful beaches. And after a little nap, I had a little walk around the town. Very Spanish. By that I mean there are no sort of other Europeans and a lot of Spanish retirees, and nobody, not even the waiting staff, spoke any English. Temperature showing 33 degrees inside the boat. I fitted new batteries. I've got a full river 85 amp here for the starter, and then the bank of house batteries, there are 3 80 amp, all AGMs. That is a small regulator for a solar panel up on the boom, and this gives me about 240 amps for service batteries. I would have gone bigger, but the batteries sit in moulded pockets, so I'm limited by the actual physical sizes of the battery. Anyway, it all seems to work pretty well. 240 amps for service, 120 amps usable. Doesn't cover everything. The fridge, well, that can take 25 amps out overnight. The solar panel does put some back in. The one I fitted, I had wired originally to the Malek wind generator controller. It does have an input for one solar panel at about 160 watts, but I've since removed that connection and I've installed a Victron MPPT controller, which allows me to add more solar and expand the system, which is what I really need to do to be off grid and generate enough power. But now the engine's working and starting reliably, I can always recharge the batteries when it gets down towards 50%, because you should never run them below 50% battery capacity. I did think of putting lithium in, but I've got the shore power controller there, which is for AGM. It doesn't have a lithium setting on it, and the solar controller is not really for lithium. And there's also an alternator management system which we saw bouncing around, flashing green light, and I was thinking, well, do I have to replace all of that? And if I put in 3 lithium leisure batteries, I'd still have to buy an interface, BMS interface, to go between the engine battery to prevent it from burning out the alternator. So that wasn't in my budget this year, unfortunately, so I've gone with replacement batteries pretty much as it was set up when I took the boat over. But the first 2 of the old batteries, the engine battery and the first one in the service batteries, they both failed completely, and so we were jump starting off one of the good batteries, which was not a good place to be. Well, it's lunchtime and I need a break from all this wiring nonsense maintenance. What are we having? I think we're going to have smashed avocado on toast with cream cheese, and then we're going to have a 2-egg omelette with that, maybe some melon. I'm not so sure about that. We'll see how we go with this. There we have it, smashed avocado and cream cheese with a 2-egg omelette on top. Bon appetit. Well, I've just finished fitting a new fuel pump, which is this one. It was leaking somewhere down here and on the other side where the bolts join it onto the block. It was the original fuel pump. We went out in last time we were here, and well, apart from the sail, the genoa, sacrificial strip, ripping off and falling apart. We went back to the engine and the engine kept cutting out, and it wasn't hard to diagnose. I could see all the fuel spewing out. So I did find a bolt, this one down here, that wasn't very tight, and the seal on the old one doesn't look too bad. I can show it. Yeah. But I thought I'd put a new pump on, seeing as how I bought one with me. And we'll see how we get on. It's taken what should have been an hour's job. It's taken about 4 hours. And the problem was getting this fuel pipe from the pump into the fuel filter here. It just wouldn't line up. I could take this off and screw that one in, or I could take this one out and screw that one in, but it just wouldn't line up. Turns out the trick is to just undo these 2 bolts for the fuel filter, and it just allows a few thou of movement for the threads to line up and just go in perfectly. So little trick and tip there. Anybody doing it? So now I've got a bleed system by pumping the fuel through from down here, and then opening this screw here, which lets all the air inside everywhere out and gets fuel up into the injectors. See how we get on with that, and whether or not we've got a tight fuel system when the engine's running. This boat has an intermittent fault to the engine control panel. When press the on-off button, you should see the warning lights come on down below, and you can test the alarms are working, and then all good to start the engine. Yesterday evening I took out the control panel and tested the voltage coming up to it. And yes, I did have the engine isolator turned on yesterday, but it had been a long day and I just had enough. So I've come back to it this morning and see if I can fix this. Well, here's a surprise. I've just tested the voltage again and I've got 13 plus volts now coming to the control panel. I haven't done anything other than turn the engine isolator switch off and switch it back on again this morning. So at the moment it's working. All I can think is that somewhere on the boat there is a relay that routes the power to this panel and that has an intermittent fault on it. But at the moment it's working. So let's start her up. Check the work from yesterday with the fuel. Engines start up perfectly on the turn of the key, and this water inlet hose looks to be running very close to the crankcase pulley, but it doesn't look to be causing any wear. The lift pump, the new lift pump, is absolutely dry, no leaks at all. If we have a look over at the work that was done back in December to the heat exchanger and all the pipes, cooling pipes coming out of there, everything's completely dry. And the header tank, which used to empty within the space of about 10 minutes, retains everything. There are no leaks anywhere. I'm pleased with this. I feel very confident. So, back to the extreme flooding in the Rio Guadiana in late January and February 2026, which turned a normally peaceful, tranquil river into a torrent. Many people keep their boats on the Guadiana. It's a beautiful place of peace and nature, and considered to be a safe place to keep boats over the winter time. Storms Christine and Leonardo rolled in, bringing rain and wind across large parts of the Iberian Peninsula. Many areas of both Spain and Portugal were flooded. The Alquiva hydroelectric dam, which is some 30 kilometres upstream of where we are, has a lot of tributaries flowing into it, and on the 28th of January they opened their floodgates for the first time in 24 years. They were releasing the water at 1.5 million litres per second, and that water takes around 18 hours to get downriver. Then after 2 days they closed the gates and the river levels ease considerably. But as you can see from the Google Flood Hub, the prediction was for even greater releases of water if the predicted storms kept on coming. And so on February the 5th, we were on the boat and the dam management opened the sluice gates and started to release 5 million litres of water per second. The results were devastating. Huge trees uprooted by the river flow were starting to come down the river, along with old fridges, rafts of cane and reeds. Even sheds were coming down. And then the boats started to break anchor. Three boats in front of us started to drag anchor, and they all missed us and hit each other, and eventually ended up in the bank and gradually started to drift away downstream. Fire brigade had arrived and were moving cars from the normal car park. I was letting out more line as the river rose so that we didn't drag our anchor, and that held pretty much until around midnight when we started to drag. It's midnight and we have dragged on our mooring about 150 metres. We're now opposite this boat. The one that was opposite this has disappeared down the river, got hit by something coming down and just disappeared off. So we were dragging. I've managed to stabilise it, and midnight, it's got a long night ahead. 6 a.m. and the mooring field is pretty much wiped out. All the boats that were in front of us are gone. All broke their moorings and just drifted down the river unattended. There's just a capella left next to us. We dragged our mooring about 150 metres, and then I dropped the anchor and let some more line out, and we've held steady since midnight. But we've no plan. The jetty that the guy would come out from to pick us up off the boat is gone, and I can see the nose of his boat sticking up out of the water just to the left of it there.
Our car is nearly.
Yeah, our car, the white one there, is a rental and it's nearly underwater. It would have been underwater, but the fire brigade were out last night and they dragged it a little bit further up. But we're stuffed. A few boats down there, the catamaran came down and anchored.
We've got two boats collided down there.
Yeah, two collided, two together. And there's just been boats coming down the river. Broken the moorings. It is a catastrophe. We got taken off by the Spanish rescue service, for which we were incredibly grateful. We'd run out of food, water, and we'd been awake all through the night, just waiting for us to be hit by something so we could take some action. But by the grace of God, everything that came down that river missed us. Missed us by a fraction a lot of the time, but it missed us and unfortunately got one of the boats behind us. And here's some pictures of the aftermath. Well, that's it for this one. Glad you made it to the end. Don't know when we'll be back with the next video. Who knows? Hope you like the big beautiful orange moon in the background. Ooh. It's nice. So if any one of you was wondering why there's been any videos for a while, it's because I went through a bit of a, I don't know, my mind got a bit blown and I had a period of anxiety. It was very unpleasant, but I got a bit of EMDR therapy, antidepressants from the doctors, and I'm feeling pretty good. But from middle of February through till middle of May, I wasn't good for anything. I'm surprised I'm back doing this again. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye bye.